Oh, it goes and it went. That's the go button. We hit it. We are on the side quest. Your weekly journey into the wonderful world of video games, video game culture, and the geeks who are in all that stuff and beyond. I'm Dolly Domofsky. Hello, I'm Dolly Domofsky. Joining me below me right here is JJ. Not below me, below me, JJ Holder. And this kitty over here.
Hello, I'm Sam. I'm here, although the program doesn't work, so you don't know that I'm actually here. But here's an image of a cat.
So here's an image of a cat. Sam is actually in my home right now, unbeknownst to me. I didn't know how he got in here. Yeah, just mere feet away in a special live side quest, live event. We are a premium live event.
Have we ever pre-recorded a podcast?
We used to. We never posted, and we never really posted them. We did them live. I don't even know if we recorded and posted. I don't even know. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. How are you guys?
Oh, I'm fine.
Good.
We've already had this small talk, but that was off air.
Yeah, you traveled like 7+ hours in a car, which is just nuts. That's too much.
I told Dally he wasn't worth it, so
it's gonna be worth it for the group Mario Kart Worlds play.
Yes, yes, that's right. Tomorrow night, for our Patreon users, we're gonna have our first game night playing Mario Kart World for those people who are available. I should probably send that note out, let people know to play. Whoever is free, we are gonna have a few of them will be here, which is really cool. Yeah, it'll be a good time. Definitely want to thank our Patreon users. Thank you to the executive Punkdified for being the totally awesome dude. I think I mentioned in the last episode that he and I hung out at Summer Game Fest kind of all weekend. It was a good time. Good person to know and hang out with. And wow, Barbie just died. Barbie was my stand-in for Sam because we didn't have the kid. Oh, that's better. She's saluting. Look at that. She's like saluting for celebrating the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army with the parade. Barbie. Thank you to our producers, Zero the Prototype, Stefan Swanland, Exaginous, and the one, the only Jeff Grubb. Am I missing someone?
Probably.
I don't think so. I don't know though.
If I remember, I will definitely. I'm definitely not stalling, so I could look at the sheet. Is really what I was
going to say. You're
definitely not
of the group.
Definitely not stalling, so I can look at that. But no, thank you, and thank you to all the friends of the show for really, just kind of being there for us. It's always helpful. So yeah, thanks everybody. It has been a wonderful week. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that was everybody. Yeah, sweet. It has been a wonderful week. We are now finally starting to catch up a little bit on the news and the information from this past week and the Switch 2 and all that fun stuff. And I figured let's have a little bit of chat. We got to start catching up on the reviews. JJ has games that he's reviewed, so we're going to talk about that. But I want to dive in with Sam's stories about the Switch 2. Sam, you got a Switch 2 now.
Oh, yeah. I guess you guys already covered some Switch 2 stuff last week. But, I'm also...
Actually, this week.
Yeah, that's true.
This week, yeah. I'm also part of the crew that acquired a Switch 2. Haven't played, a lot on it, much like everybody else. I have Mario Kart World. And been going through some of that, enjoying that a lot. I'm both in the camp of thinking that like it's got the coolest tracks and like the coolest ideas that Mario Kart's had in a while, but also in the same camp of being like, well, they don't really utilize the free roam as much as they could. I think I heard somebody say Forza Horizon. This is not, and it's not. It is basically a map that you can kind of just like goof around in, and there's some puzzles to find here and there.
There's like 300 of those switches in there.
Oh yeah. Well, but there's nothing to sort of be like, oh, this is all the switches in this area. So like go to a different area. There is for the blocks that you can find and run over in certain areas. There is like this like Toad's factory has like 5 or 6 blocks or whatever. But there is nothing to tell you how many of the P-Switch missions are there. And I guess you can see how many costumes each character has. But yeah, it does seem kind of like not lacking in those features, but almost like no explanation. Like just to get to free roam, you just hit plus on the start menu. And you just like go into it. It's not like you click single player and then go to free roam. It's just like if you don't even see that in the corner, like you kind of completely miss it.
And I brought that up. It happened to me. I had no idea how to get into free roam.
Yeah,
I'm like, well, it's not listed on there. I guess you have to hit the plus button or whatever.
Well, and the other thing is like, a lot of like press and stuff said that there would be 4-player free roam and even split screen free roam. And as of right now, there's really not. You can sort of do it while you're waiting in a lobby for online play, but it deactivates all the like P switches. So basically all the like extra functions are gone, but you can still goof around with like 22 or 23 others in those lobbies. But yeah, I mean, it's the sentiment that I think everybody's saying with Switch 2 right now is like, if you're a Nintendo fan and you love Mario Kart, then it's kind of like, well, yeah, of course, like go get it. But otherwise, it's kind of like until you're waiting for like Donkey Kong, now that we have the Splatoon Raiders thing that got announced, like it's slowly like starting to see like the Nintendo communities like sort of like float over there. Like we were talking about tonight at dinner, like there's been a real clamoring for a stronger Switch for a long time.
Yeah.
So like people that are still doing like weekly redesigns of Animal Crossing Islands and all this stuff, like they are benefiting from that. And that's basically all they want is just something to run the games that they already have like way better. And that's what this is right now. And, some of it is like, it's an emulation layer. So you could arguably think in the future, some of that stuff will get even better. Plus then, if like something like Splatoon 3, they didn't announce it pre-release, but since it's released, Splatoon 3 did get a upgrade for free for like all those weapons and up res and more stable frame rates and stuff. All that stuff is available like for free for members. So now it's kind of one of those where it's like, oh, if I'm a big Splatoon player, it kind of makes sense to move up to that because now I have like way more responsiveness. Apparently the Pro controllers, the gyros are way more sensitive than they were before, so they're like way more accurate.
That gyro is awesome on Splatoon. I became a appreciator of that.
So like it seems like we're slowly, if your Nintendo community hasn't yet seen the benefits of it, it seems like Nintendo is slowly rolling that out. So it goes back to, if you're a Nintendo fanboy, it's like Nintendo will show up for you, and probably within this first year even for products. But if you're still somebody that's like, well, all I used was to play Mario Kart the first time, then yeah, it's probably still waiting period for the Switch 2. But I mean, everybody's been talking about how it's been the wildest launch because day of you could just walk into a Best Buy and go get one. Where before, like when we ordered the 360, ours got delayed from the first shipment, so we got like the 360 a week later, and we had security walk us down to the mall with like how like crazy people were like around those launches back in the day, and it was like one of those where it's like that was a known that like Microsoft came out and said we don't have enough of these. And like that was the reaction, and then like now it's like Nintendo, like everybody was, there had been rumors that like 2 million a month had been showing up in like
warehouses,
in warehouses since like January, and it kind of seems like that was the case with the release. Like seeing that like individual Best Buys getting 200 of them on launch day is like nuts.
Yeah, we had, and I mentioned before the previous episode, but I was out there with Exogenous and Zero the Prototype, and even Ramen Don, who popped up, the local person, and then even Bin was out there. There were so many pre-orders. There was like 100 plus pre-orders easily. And then when I got there, there was already like almost 100 people in line that hadn't pre-ordered. And when I asked the Best Buy employee, are you going to have enough for all those folks? Like, yeah, we got plenty left over as well. So that actually, it's good to kind of hop into the first news story from that standpoint, because we do finally have numbers on how many Switches were sold in the first 4 days. And it's 3.5 million Switches were sold on globally in the first 4 days. Nearly 1 million in Japan, which breaks the PlayStation 2 record, which was a long time coming. But that's a lot. You're looking at probably nearly a couple million in the US, I would say, somewhere out there in the first 4 days. And then, 500,000 or more for the rest of the world. So it definitely seems like those who wanted one got one. who wanted one right away got one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't checked out like eBay or even Facebook Marketplace and stuff like that just to see like
Yeah.
offers you're doing. But I mean, it's one of those where it's like right now it's, you know, what does your region look like?
Yeah.
Because if you go to a local store, for me, like there's really not, I mean, there's a couple of peripherals here and there, but there's not hardware. Like I can't just walk into my local Target and buy one.
Right.
But it seems like, you know, go down 30 miles and maybe you can. So, you know, it definitely doesn't seem like one of those where it's like, you know, oh, there's not a major holiday, a major gift giving holiday or something like that coming up. Obviously, people's got birthdays in summer.
Yeah.
But like, so
the best you could hope for is graduation gift.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So there's not really any like clamoring, you need this device for this time or whatever. So it is just kind of like a casual thing. And, you know, even though it did sound like there's a ravenous group of people ready for a new console launch, that it was probably the like most sane console launch that's like happened in the modern time.
From a Nintendo console. Yeah.
I think we talked about it this week when we talked about it earlier, but that 3.5 million is pretty much the same. Like the Steam Deck has sold like 4 million.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. It's caught up in 4 days. It caught up the Steam Deck.
Well, it is. I mean, it's Nintendo, so you know, Nintendo does Nintendo things, but it is quite a statement of confidence that, like, we are so sure that this launch is going to go this well that we will have millions of units per region.
Sorry, Barbie.
Ready to go on launch date. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, just imagine like being like even Microsoft thinking that they could generate 4 million Xboxes and think that they would clear through that in the first year. Like, you know, having, you know, the fact of selling through 3.7 million is the fact that you had 3.7 million to sell through.
Yeah.
So like that's already an insane number that they even had that many before one of them got sold to be able to hand out.
Like you said, there were the rumors Nintendo had been stocking up, and obviously they must have been, because there were all the leaks of the actual hardware. Like we knew what the hardware looked like back in like November. It kind of feels like it. And then in December, when Genki came out and said, yeah, we got it, here's what it looks like, in beginning of January with CES, and it was kind of, the floodgates were open. But it's over at Summer Game Fest, we were talking to a couple folks there who didn't get a chance to pre-order or buy the Switch 2 on launch day. They went over to just the local Target, either Target or Best Buy, that morning of Game Fest, that Friday morning on the 6th, and they had like plenty in stock that day. Now, granted, that has changed. I went to Best Buy a couple days ago to grab something, and there were none left. So we had one of the bigger sales booms over at our Best Buy. So I think it kind of hit that peak, and now it's starting to, the demand has caught up to the availability has caught up to what the demand was initially. And so they'll probably get a little bit more sparse out there, but Nintendo does want to pump these out fairly quickly. What did they say? They wanted 13 million this year, but this calendar year, and they're already at 3.5. So they got less than 10 million to go the rest of this year. And so you could be looking at, 1 or 2 million a month to get them to where they need to go.
Well, so, and if you remember during like even the PlayStation 5 and Series X launches, it was one of those where it's like you go to Walmart and they would have a sign that's like, we are getting X number of these in like this week.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're not telling you when we're getting them in, they're just coming in. And like, if you want to purchase one, like this is how many we have in stock currently. And they weren't even like hitting store shelves. They were keeping them in the back when people asked for them to give them. Where this, it's like you have the full Switch 2 displays like already out there. Like, it will just be like a normal product that you can go and get probably with, very shortly.
Yeah.
And then it's like one of those where it's like, I wonder if since we're selling so well now, do you get to the sort of thing like a runoff on Black Friday where, all of a sudden people want them in their hands again now. And, there aren't that many Switches available because they've already, packed that sort of building for launch. God knows what tariffs or anything look like going forward. To like what does that hardware sell for even at the end of this year? So
it's
weird times.
Really weird times. Yeah. I mean, and we talked a little bit about this, JJ, the other day, was, for Nintendo building that momentum, they need to they need to put news out, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the news here, but they need a direct or two between now and the holidays, because you want people to, they got the early adopters, they got us, we're the ones that are going to buy this regardless, right? But they want the grandmas out there. What game is grandma going to buy for their grandkid, or aunt uncle going to buy for their kids, let alone those of us who are who are adult enough to be able to purchase these. So I'm hoping they'll have a direct. Initially there was a rumor going around, and even over at Summer Game Fest, people really thought there was going to be a direct on Tuesday. Like everybody was saying, it's going to be on Tuesday. It's going to be on Tuesday. And I'm thinking, it can't be. Nintendo would have made a big deal about it if it was Tuesday, because they haven't really been doing things earlier in the week lately. So I don't know. I think hopefully they'll have one by the end of this month, because they got to talk Donkey Kong, make a big deal about that to sell that game and drop a few more actual release dates. I mean, we don't know anything about Metroid.
No,
that's definitely going to be a September game, though. I think so.
Well, it almost sounds like, at least from how we're building things with first of all, the almost quiet announcement of the Splatoon Raiders for it being on Nintendo today, and then they uploaded the video to YouTube.
Yes, Splatoon Raiders, spinoff.
Yeah. So it's almost one of those where it's like, there's the belief of, does Nintendo are they even interested in doing these types of directs? Because you have the only people watching your directs are the most plugged in consumers. Like, as is, the person that bought Wii Bowling or whatever isn't watching a Nintendo Direct.
Right.
Maybe their kids are, but so you're already, if you're already just selling straight to your fanboys have the Nintendo News app or whatever, right? And then they'll see on whatever social media, even if they're not checking it daily, to go do whatever and find it on the YouTube video. Is it even something that Nintendo has to market it, or do they just come out on a random Wednesday and they're like, oh, by the way, here's 30 minutes worth of trailers and stuff like that that's on Nintendo today, and then we'll upload it to YouTube later?
I actually got a notification that here's the video. Here, there's a new Splatoon video, and I'm like, oh, they're announcing something. But they did do, they had the Nintendo Today app, and they still did a Switch Direct. They just noted the Switch Direct within the Nintendo Today app, so you could watch it. The same with the Switch 2 Direct. So those were in there. So I think, but yeah, to that point, they're going to disseminate that actual info. This slow drip that Nintendo's very, very well known for. That actually was started with Sakurai way back when he did an item a day or a thing a day for Smash Brothers Brawl. Remember that? So the Nintendo kind of has been learning from that over the years, and realizes, people really do kind of like to get this slow drip news feed. But
that Smash Brothers thing was fun too, because for every heart container there was and now Sonic the Hedgehog that just made the internet implode for 24 hours.
And the next day it was a sticker that you could get.
It's a trophy.
Splatoon Raiders, a spinoff. That looks like it's going to be a single player Splatoon game. Doesn't look like it'll be multiplayer, even though Raiders is in the title, so it sounds like a multiplayer type thing. But everything they said in their press release alludes to this being sort of a single player spin-off adventure. But it's it's good, I think, because here, I'll hit the play button on this video.
The places do need to sort of, when they have an interesting world, need to play in it a little more than just I want something Overwatch that isn't Overwatch kind of thing.
Same, and Splatoon is that way. I had heard from a couple folks just on other podcasts bring it up over the last couple of days. They'd wanted to get into Splatoon, but they don't want to do multiplayer. They're like, I don't want, and the single player campaigns really were just learning the ropes of the equipment, and so doing this, I think, is actually really smart, because it shows there is a whole world, there's a whole adventure in this that that makes it, could potentially open up Splatoon to a whole new audience.
Well, and we're not really told much about it, other than it is a Splatoon spin-off experience where you play as an engineer. And I'm not sure if they mentioned specifically that it was going to be single player, but everything that we're seeing there seems to suggest that it's single player. But the name does suggest plural.
So
So who knows? They do have
it's a live service Splatoon
well,
game.
they do have the Salmon Run mode that's
Yes.
on Splatoon 2 and 3, which is a more co-op, like it's player versus environment than it is player versus player. So yeah, like having that type of thing, like for people that, because honestly, trying to play that game competitively is sweatier than Call of Duty, like half the time. So like having a sort of like mode where it's like you're not like facing against people, or you might be working together with people, is like a different thing. Plus, like as JJ mentioned, like this world is like cool. Like we know that it's like like city streets and like the sort of like rave culture that they've built around the Splatoon world and stuff like that. But it's like this is sort of like removing ourselves from the city and seeing like the sort of like what is normal land around that place. So it's like it's kind of building this idea of the what was there an apocalypse, these squid kids, or like some some version of humans or whatever that happened. So so it's interesting. And then also, as we're seeing in the trailer now, like they did add 30 new guns,
something crazy like that,
something nuts to Splatoon 3.
So Splatoon 3 has been doing the seasons, right? So they'll have, it's basically spring, summer, but this latest one, which is the summer season, it's their 10th season, I guess what they're calling it, but it gives all these new weapons, and they've bumped up, you mentioned earlier, they bumped up the like bunch of stuff for the Switch 2. However, for the OG Switch, they've actually reduced graphical fidelity.
Oh, really?
The latest update, because they want to make sure that the speed that Splatoon 3 runs on the Switch 2
is matched
is matched on Switch 1.
Yeah,
so you would rather take the hit graphically than
If you go to like the software compatibility thing, you see that it's sort of a recurring problem where the Switch 2 being able to have a lot of these games maintain their 30 to 60 frames per second where they weren't normally doing it. So when you have a Switch 1 player playing against Switch 2 players, it's been causing problems. So they've been working on compatibility fixes across the board for some of these things. So I can see that making sense for Splatoon 3 being sort of gimped, nerfed a little bit on the Switch.
It's also interesting, since there was such, the conversation around their sort of like $10 upgrade packs and some games just getting free resolution and frame rate bumps, where this is technically something that is only a feature set that's on the Switch 2. There's no Switch 2 version of it. It's just the same version with an update that changed some things for the Switch 2 that then aren't available on the Switch 1.
Correct.
So it's like one of those where it's like, people were clamoring for this, and it's like, hey, this is what Nintendo did for that. And there's like sort of been no discussion over it, which is like interesting. It's like you guys were like so mad about it, but like what you wanted to have happen is exactly what's happening with Splatoon 3, and like everybody's been radio silent.
So that's pretty cool. We're a Splatoon household, so definitely excited from that standpoint. So there was a lot of Nintendo news this week. One more little bit of news: Zelda movie has been delayed. And that also dropped. That didn't drop on Nintendo today initially.
No,
I think Miyamoto came out and mentioned it, but it went from March, like towards the end of March, to the beginning of May. So it's like a 6-week or so. Yeah, there you go, to May 7th. So it's like a 6-week dip. Now, they mentioned, production and blah, 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 blah. Part of it is also everything timing wise has shifted around.
Oh, yeah.
The Marvel movies, the what used to be Kang Dynasty, but now is Doomsday, was pushed to December. So that left this weekend open, because I think we're supposed to release this weekend. Correct me if I'm wrong, JJ. So this weekend is open. There's no big blockbuster in the lead up to Memorial Day, at least initially on the schedule. So getting 6 extra weeks, and getting all that time and being able to market a little more and having a little bit of breathing room is actually better monetarily in the long run for this Zelda game. So
I totally forgot that this is an Avi Arad movie.
It's an Avi Arad movie, exactly.
He's not having such a good time these days.
No.
Would you like to hear what the last movies he was the producer of?
Sure.
Let's see. He was the producer of Uncharted.
Okay.
Morbius.
Oh boy.
Yeah, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Borderlands.
Ooh.
Craven the Hunter.
Wow. We're batting one out
Wow,
of one
and-
out of
and
five
so
there.
This is
And
our
the and he also does the Venom movies, and he also you know,
Okay.
who knows when the next Spider-Verse movie is actually coming
Yeah.
out at this point.
They
It
put
was
it
supposed to be
aside
out like
just
2
for this
years
show.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, like, was it everyone's using the Miyamoto quote in funny ways, which is like the delayed movie is gonna be
Yeah.
good, but a rush movie is never good or whatever.
That it's funny. It's usually absolutely never the case in Hollywood.
Yeah.
The longer a movie is
It's
delayed,
usually bad.
the worse it is off. I mean, Megaopolis was delayed for like 40 years.
It's just one of these things where it's like you're delaying it by like 6 weeks. Like, is there anybody out there that has like the movie? Like, because it's 2020.
This is
anyway, right?
Yeah.
Like, is there anybody out
this-
there that was like, oh, now I have to scratch it off my calendar
Yeah.
to move it?
Nobody.
no, this kind of thing is unique to gamers getting information about something that's not gaming, because like this happens all the time in movies. Like
This would have been Secret Wars weekend, right? I'm sorry, Secret Wars.
Yeah, this would have been Secret Wars.
But yeah, you're right. Yeah, it happens all the time.
No, this would have been no, this would have been
No, because next
No,
year
yeah.
is
yeah. So,
that's how screwed up we are, and that's how screwed up Nintendo was with this. So
Yeah.
but I'll take it. Just let me know who the cast is, and we'll go.
I was gonna say, at this point, do we even know if there's a cast?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know. I have no idea.
yeah,
But you're 2 years out from.
they found the great Deku tree somewhere in the woods, but that's all they've cast.
That's all they've cast. The Dicker Tree.
yeah. I'm sure they got
Streaming
Josh.
from the bathroom. I'm not streaming from the bathroom. The lighting is horrible in this room here, and I don't have my typical lighting.
Sam
I have a
is.
guest today. That's why.
Yeah. No, but they did cast Josh Gad as Navi though, so that's.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Hey, listen. Okay, I think that's it for news. Let's get into. I'm tired, but let's get into the games that we've been playing.
So we got to bring the cat back up for a little bit.
There you go.
until
Yeah,
we
put
get
the cat back
news.
up until we're ready to hit the go button with the news. With the games. JJ, you have been playing some games. You actually got review games that you've been playing.
I does have reviews. Games.
Okay. Let's start with the preview. Let's go with the actual review, and then we can get into the
actual review.
the
The preview one will be fun because we'll be able to talk. We'll be able to compare it to something else.
Yes. So you reviewed a game that several people have been talking about within our Discord. That
yes,
like
my boy Johnny, he's been playing it alongside with me.
PIPISTRELLO and the
it's unfortunately it is PIPISTRELLO. It is
PIPISTRELLO.
Yeah, PIPISTRELLO. Italian for bat, because I guess this character is a bat. This was a game we were super excited for a couple of years ago at PAX. We all got our grubby mitts on this thing when we were there, and we loved it. Back then, we all it's one of the unanimous agreements that it deserved one of the awards, the Team Choice Awards. This is I'm gonna say this is Game Boy Advance like. It is definitely aesthetically and gameplay wise, it feels very much like a late era GBA game. It's sort of a combo of like Zelda and not just because of the yo-yo, but just sort of like thematically, it's got some Star Tropics soul in it. I love me some Star Tropics. But this is a top-down 2D action puzzle.
Something like that, yeah.
I don't know what you would call it, because it's not even like it's a Metroidvania. Like, you kind of want to put it in that hole, but it doesn't really feel like that. There's not a massive ton of backtracking. It's sort of all like everything's just sort of like forward momentum to get a key, and then you go back to like a main hall and unlock it. Like that, the first major boss areas like that. You're a little smartass bat that goes back to visit his family, his grandma, who is a big deal in this town. Everyone knows them. Not everyone's happy to know them for various reasons, including the main villains of the game. Through some circumstances, some bad juju happens, and Grandma ends up getting possessed into your yo-yo that you use.
A very normal thing.
A very normal thing. And the bulk of your combat is yo-yo based. You use it to, you can cross water with it, like by using like walk the dog things, and you can do multi-hits, and it's got this cool angle thing you can see, and like that's the first boss fight major. Well, I guess it's not first, pretty open map. That's just the first place I went to, so to me that's the first boss fight. If you see something that it has like a sharp angle to it, you can whip your yo-yo or throw your yo-yo off leash, and it'll follow the angle trajectory, that 90-degree angles. So
I love
you can
that. Just classic bouncy.
Yeah, you can get some very interesting attacks and multi-hits just kind of based on like how you use your yo-yo in these situations. So that's neat. It's really satisfying combat. It's got a killer soundtrack. It's got a really interesting power-up system that I don't think anyone's ever done this before, and it's kind of neat. You kind of got your underground bunkers that are kind of hidden throughout they all link to like one spot, but you find these red trap doors and you go in there, and that's where you find some of your grandma's associates and stuff. And one of them sells you sort of your upgrades, your buffs, the things that will like increase your attack power, increase this, that, and the other. And so you get those, and they just give it to you. But there's two caveats to it. One, it has a negative impact on you. So if you want this upgrade, it's going to have a negative impact, which usually means something like, you have one less heart, which early game hurts a lot because that means you've only got like 2 hearts now. And on top of that, you have to pay them back. But the money you have on hand at the moment doesn't matter because they're a germaphobe, so they don't want to touch the money you've already touched. So what they do is they take half of the money you find throughout there until you pay it off. And then once you pay it off, you go back to them, they remove the buff, and it unlocks whatever, some more of your upgrades that you can get and stuff. It's a really clever system. I really like it. It really is risk reward that you kind of have to do. Because you'll find yourself woefully underpowered sometimes. Like I need this guy's. It's taking too much to, take some of these rooms of people out and stuff. And it's also a very parry centric game. There's a lot of like press the Y button to do a parry of a bullet back to the boss or whatever. Yeah. It's the new hotness in video games is a parry mode, but. The story is also really, really good, and like there's a lot of payoff by the time you get to the end of it. You kind of don't expect it because it is kind of really goofy.
You'd think
in a lot of ways.
So cute. Sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of sass. Your character's pretty sassy at times and stuff, but by the time you get to the end of it, you're kind of like the story is evolved a little bit more and stuff. Like it's got a good payoff. It's definitely worth seeing through the end. And it's always throwing something new at you. There's always a new sort of like way that a boss is going to come at you or an enemy is going to come at you, and you have to think about it. The puzzles are all really clever. And some of them aren't necessary. Some of them are just to find things that are hidden and stuff.
Would you say that everything that they throw at you comes back?
Yeah. Way to go.
You're welcome.
But yeah, no, this is short list of my favorite games of the year so far. 100%. I have a strong feeling about this one. For me, it just hit all the right notes for me. Exactly, a game made specifically for my tastes, which I love. And it does. I always say this when it comes to games like this. It's definitely trying to be a Game Boy Advance game, but it's not limiting itself to the Game Boy Advance. It's not trying to be like it could be on Game Boy Advance hardware. It's just how Game Boy Advance feels. So,
yeah.
yeah.
That's more than the feeling, I guess, in a stupid way. But yeah, that's one thing that struck me when we first played it a couple years ago, or however long ago it was. You know, it's that it's not quite Game Boy Advance, but it's what you feel.
Yeah.
That plays like, and it worked.
Yeah.
It worked well back then. So.
And it still has the really fun filters on it, where
nice.
You get to, it has 2 different filters, because when they showed us, it was like a GBA filter, but they also have like a GBA SP style filter too, like
the Game Boy Micro.
Yeah. So, but you know,
a little corner,
just a little tiny corner.
Yeah, and like with scratches on the screen, it's so good. It's a great filter. It's actually one of the few like overlay filters I've ever used that I thought was like well done. So good on them for that. Yeah.
You've also been playing a crafting game, one might call it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, technically, Sam gets to jump in on this one with me too.
Yes, yeah. We've both. Well, you got a code for review, but we've both been playing.
Yeah, we could both review it together. Which is a good.
Yeah. The new Saber joint of basically expanding on the Mud Runner, Snow Runner expeditions timeline of events and games,
the Spin Tires gaming universe.
Yes,
I like that. The Spin Tires gaming universe.
So this is more about where Expeditions was a spin-off that was really about like sort of scouting out an area and coming up with like recovering vehicles and delivering stuff back and forth. This is actively making the roads in which you're delivering stuff back and forth on way easier.
Yeah.
So you have a bunch of different vehicles. Some of them are crafting road related, like a paver and a steamroller. Some of them are like a dump truck for dumping sand and bulldozers for moving that stuff around. And then you have any number of heavy machinery cranes and all that type of stuff to move equipment left and right and get stuff out of ditches and stuff. And it's really fun. It's 4-player co-op, JJ. I don't know if you've been playing.
I've been doing it solo.
Yeah, it's very interesting because like there's certain aspects of the game that I think are like really enjoyable in 4-player, and then there's certain aspects of the game that I think are much better to do like by yourself singly.
Yeah, I can definitely feel some of the sections where I have that. Boy, I kind of wish I did have a couple other guys here.
Yeah, there's certainly like some of the missions you do is you plan routes for like delivery trucks basically. And some of those trucks have 4-wheel drive and have diff lock like you do. And some of those trucks are just normal ass highway like 18-wheelers that have nothing but just forward and back. And sometimes getting those trucks to go on the roads that you have to get them to go is like not great. And you basically have to repave or even build brand new roads in some of these areas.
Yeah, there's like whole like you got to get the resources. You have to rebuild a bridge that's down.
And some areas are really easy because like dump trucks, you don't have to go to like the quarry and fill up there every single time, right? As long as you're within a radius of this quarry, you can fill up. But usually they're very smart about being like, oh, like you need to build this bridge, or you need to build this road, which is just far enough outside of it.
Yeah.
So like you basically have to work on getting what is like 6 different vehicles down to the same one location to basically pave a road. So when you have multiple people, you can drive 4 of those vehicles. So somebody can have a hauler and, drive a couple. But if you're by yourself, you're like driving every vehicle down there. And then you got to go get sand and you got to come back. And so I need another couple buckets of sand and stuff. So it's like, it's like one of those games that like I've been telling people that like if you just want like if your normal gameplay is like I play Forza Horizon and I just listen to a podcast or whatever, it's like this could be your new podcast.
Oh, sweet.
Because this is the like okay, I have like 45 minutes. I'm just gonna build this road. It only gets me about 10% of the way done with this mission, but I will feel very accomplished at the end of it. And then, there's always the fun of like hearing from your buddy that they've, they had a generator or something that they had to deliver for a mission, but they've rolled over. So then you have to drive your crane down and help them flip back over and stuff so they don't have to reset the mission. So it's very funny. You know, it's one of those where it's like there is very clearly like the right tools for the job, and then there's the tools that you can do to sort of get around using the right tools for the job.
Yeah.
So like there was one mission where they're like, get this generator and take it to the other side of the map, and what they want you to do is like use this heavy crane to get the generator out, put it on the back of the heavy truck, and then drive that heavy truck to the location, meet it there with the crane, and unload it. Or what you can do, what I did was take the generator, like put it on the head of the truck, and then use the boom of the crane to hold it to the top of the truck. Oh my
gosh.
And then drove it all the way to
amazing.
the location.
Sometimes, I mean, the physics in these games have always just like, hey, man, sometimes you just got to make do.
Yeah, and like, you know, there are clearly vehicles, like every time they introduce a new mechanic, you get like the rusty version of that vehicle.
Yeah.
And it's always like you could probably complete the whole game with the rusty version of the vehicle, but it is a pain in the ass to drive. Or like the dump truck, the rusty dump truck, it's like useless in comparison to the other dump trucks because they can hold like 3 times the amount of sand that original one can. So like it encourages you to like you're basically running a company, and you're like making money to buy new tools, and you know, it's slowly introducing you like to, okay, here's crafting roads, here's forestry, here's like making concrete and stuff like that. So there's like a bunch of different
you got your quarries, you got your like lumber yards, and like it's funny to just see the sort of natural progression that went from like the initial spin tires, where it's just like, here's some weird trucks that have differentials that you're hauling logs from one place to another, all the way to this where it's like, oh, you're hauling everything, you're saving everything, you're building everything yourself, and
they've taken out like spin tires and mud tires and expeditions, like all had sort of more, let's say, sim-y aspects of it that they kind of like stripped out.
Yeah,
so
they definitely made sure to make this more game friendly.
Yeah, there used to be like fuel consumption in your vehicles. You could get like halfway done with a mission, and then your car would just be stopped because you've ran out of gas, and like hopefully you had another truck to run gas to it. So all the gas stuff is taken out.
Sure,
like, you can like instantly recall. There's even like a master base vehicle that you can like drive around and recall any vehicle to it at any time and stuff. It costs like in-game currency, but it's very smart in playing it that way. And then also, I don't know if you've seen JJ, they've like Saber has come out and said that they're going to be making changes. They essentially sold DLC before the game even came out. There was like a Renegade edition or something.
Oh wow!
That has like 2 new maps coming out by the end of the year and stuff. And they sort of hinted at there's no like building destruction or anything right now, but they've sort of hinted that there's a wrecking ball coming and stuff like that.
Oh wow!
So yeah, I mean, I'm only about like halfway maybe through it because you like
it's big.
Yeah, you basically complete a map and then it opens up another map with like 30 missions or whatever. So like
and there's 8 of them. There's 8 maps.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my group, like basically you get the choice early on of like 1 of 2 missions to go to. So my group is playing like the top mission while I was doing like the bottom mission by myself. So like you can still take like all your money and all your vehicles like with you to like the other missions. So like if my buddy hasn't unlocked the bulldozer yet, I can show up with like all the bulldozers I own and help him out and stuff like that. So it's very smart. You know, these maps are very big. Like I don't think anybody's going to complain about there not being like enough space or different environment biomes to drive around in. And then it's supposed to be after like sort of major storms. So there's like everything's pretty destructed and it looks like pretty similar. But they do fill it with some cute things like here and there. Like there are mini like toy Tonka trucks that you can pick up and sell in game. Like they make you a lot of money. These guys also worked on the Warhammer series. So there are Warhammer like steel cans around that if you pick up and they're worth like a lot of money and stuff like that. So they've done it where it's like there's like interactive elements in the map too. There's like a drainage pipe in one map that if you drop something through it, it will teleport to the other side. So like you could do it to like teleport resources, but you can't use it to teleport vehicles.
Yeah.
So they've done a bunch of like sort of like gamey things. Like
Yeah.
Dying Light did this, where they almost were like, we understand we're a video game and that some of you are very serious to play Tonka trucks here, like you know, and then some of you are here just because you and the boys want to drive around some trucks and have a good time. So yeah, I think it's friendlier than something like a farming simulator is. Like I think it's like it's way more open and more of like, you know, oh, do I want to go in this evening and just spend an hour collecting debris and stuff to trade in for resources, or do I actually want to build a road and start working on missions?
Yeah, I would say if you ever played like a mud runner or a snow runner and it was too much, too complex in a way, or like it's asking because those games ask a lot out of you. Like we were talking about, like you're paying attention to a lot of stuff. You're paying attention to the gas and damage and water depth. You got your Death Stranding, like I have to push this button to see how what these sharp edges are on this hill if my truck can make it up and stuff. That stuff's all still kind of here, but they definitely definitely made it much more user friendly for somebody who is not into that. I have seen that there is a lot of pushback on that. Most of the negative reviews that you see right now are, I want that complexity, which is like, all right, like I get it, but
well, and it seems like they've added a hard mode to their roadmap. So it seems like there will be like that sort of like.
I think there will be like a Mud Runner version, like style version of this later on. It definitely seems like that's the plan. But as it is right now, I'd say like if these kind of have ever looked interesting to you, like this is the one to jump into. This one
absolutely the most like user friendly version,
most accessible by a long shot.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, there still is like, you know, like we have a friend who's not really into like driving games, and he like, you know, we got him to play this game and he's just sitting there and he's like, well, this is like the opposite of a game I would enjoy. Like, why did you guys like convince me this was a good idea?
You gotta push a bunch of different buttons if you want to like drive in the mud, you know. Like it's like,
well, and that's the other thing too. It's like a lot of people that were real confident in themselves getting in here and then flipping their car real quick, and then being frustrated. And it's like it's a different style of like driving game. Like you got to be more focused.
One of the funniest. I'll let you go first.
Oh, I was just gonna say, it's like if open world games and stuff like that, the driving aspects are like the part you hate the most. Like this is absolutely not for you. Like there's no getting out of your car and doing anything else. Like this is 100% vehicles. You were behind the wheel the whole time.
Well, I was gonna say one of their more interesting takes on this is the VR version of Mud Runner that they put out. Because you can get out of the car and wander around and do stuff, because you got to kind of like open doors and get gas cans and stuff for your car. And they start you with like the biggest garbage car you can get in the middle of a storm. So it's like, not only are you like slogging in a front wheel drive, Eastern European sedan, but like you also don't really have the tools to get through this efficiently, so they're really making you slog through it. And luckily none of these games have ever really done that. No. They usually give you something, they give you something of value, but I don't know, just something, the way they did it in the VR game was really funny to me.
The one complaint I do have about this game is and you'll hear it if you look at the other reviews, is that like the AI that to drive these routes, not the smartest in the world.
No, sack of rocks.
So you have to be you have to be like pretty detailed when you're like out like lining out their routes, because the first truck will make it and then the second truck will pretend that like the left turn doesn't start for like another 15 feet. And we'll like be like, you failed the mission, then you'll restart them right there and they'll be fine. And it's like, okay. But I will say my one complaint is that you can spectate the AI drivers, like when they're driving to location. So you can just kind of watch to make sure they're fine, but you can't spectate your friends. So it has a really cool.
I want to do.
It's so its map is really cool. So if you hit the map, it's basically like zooms out like the crew kind of, and you see like everything that's on the map. So you can watch as like almost little tiny Tonka Troys are driving around like when your friends are like doing work, but you can't like hit Y or triangle to spectate them, to just like watch them, but you can the AI card. Like my buddy was saying, he's like, I'm working a job. Maybe I just want to go out for a cigarette real quick and watch you drive around.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, I totally hear you on that. Like, you know, you are just like, oh, I've got to like fold laundry, but I'll like hang out and talk to you guys. Like, I want to be able to watch you like move some sand around or whatever. So that would be my only complaint. But that map is fun. Like, I wish that you could almost play with like somebody playing as like your dispatch, where they can like, sit and they see like the whole map, and they can like put like almost like, you know how Battlefield had that like dispatcher like mode for a while, where you could be like, everybody attack A, and then like a giant cone would be like A. Like I want that, but for Roadcraft.
Like some of those rally games let you have a co-pilot, like actual human co-pilot to tell you what to do.
Like just had like there is like I think her name's Jane in the game.
Yeah.
Like they're, you know, they're like their story person.
Yes, their story, their plot.
Or she's just like sitting there and she's being like, you know, telling you like, oh, you know, they would like you to go get this and this, and it's like, I want somebody to be able to play that actual role.
Yeah, the dispatch would be a really fun role in one of these games, man. Send them off. Listen, you need to get to, you know, Tucson right now to pick up delivery of.
Excellent. Roadcraft. JJ, you also had a chance to preview something, yeah?
I did have a chance to preview something very cool. Something I was very excited to preview. You played
inspired.
Yeah, you played Shinobi at SGF, and at home I got to play Ninja Gaiden Ragebound.
Ooh.
Baby. This is what is it? .emu. So it's they did Windjammers 2, baby.
Your game of the year every year.
Game of the year every year. Windjammers 2, actually Windjammers 1. Windjammers 2 is runner up. Cut from the same cloth, same era of gaming as like Shinobi, where it's a brutally hard platforming ninja game. I will say about this one doesn't feel like Ninja Gaiden. It feels something completely different. So you're playing a I've already forgotten the character's name, but you're taking on the role of a different ninja. You're being trained. Kenji, there you go.
Kenji.
Yeah, you're being trained by Ryu. So it has a really interesting fight mechanic. It's like really what's the best way to put it? It's, you know how I was saying how parrying is the new hotness? This kind of leans into that in a weird way. You'll see a lot of where you'll do a jump and then you'll do your double jump. But if your double jump also acts as an attack, and if you attack something, it gets you a boost to your double jump. So you can kind of chain double jumps based off of attacks and stuff. So you'll find yourself doing that. And it's not always an enemy. Sometimes it's a projectile or like an object in the background. It's pretty obvious what this works on and what it doesn't work on. So like a lot of the platforming involves you sort of like getting vertical using this sort of like weird double jump parrying attack. And you actually have a parry too. You can like projectiles, you can hit a button and it sort of deflects back. And you also have a spirit character, that Kumori that you see there. I don't know fully. I mean, this is just a demo and it's just showing you, they just hand you some sections to see. And she has different abilities because she's a spirit, but you have to lock Kenji in like a sort of like checkpointy kind of place. And she has a limited time that you can use her until it like resets, and then you just have to kind of do it again to try to do it in a fast amount of time. But you can like restock that by doing certain attacks, because certain attacks get you what would be like mana in a way for like other moves and like power attacks and one hit. There's like one thing where you can build up your like super move that lets you do like a one-hit kill kind of thing, or break a barrier, a shield kind of thing. And the same thing happens with her, where you get those, you chain those attacks together, and it gives you more time to complete this quick little puzzle section that you have to sort of run through as her to unlock a door for Kenji on the other side and things like that. And like the boss fight that they throw you into, where you kind of use all of Kenji's moves, where it's like, you know, the villain is going to do a attack that is going to fly across from the room, so you want to jump over that. He's going to fire some projectiles at you, so you want to parry those to build up your meter too, so you can get like hit him with a more devastating attack. But then also, like, as he's like flying by, you can do your double jump and sort of bounce off of him to hit just like a blow, and parry things back to him so it can, knock his shields down. And it plays absolutely nothing like Ninja Gaiden. Like, like the Shinobi version, the Shinobi game that you were playing, that we were talking about, plays more like Ninja Gaiden than this does. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I think this is a cool way of like moving Ninja, because there's like, we're on the cusp of like a brand new 3D one that they've announced now too. And like those games are so like different from what they're hard, don't get me wrong. This one definitely feels the least hard out of any Ninja Gaiden I've ever played. But like that's not what this game would be, especially in such like a swamped market of this style of game, to sort of like refresh it while sort of I don't want to say cashing in on the name, but like, it's, at the same time kind of cashing in on the name, because it's finally a Ninja Gaiden I can beat. And I'm going to say, I don't know, because I don't know what the end game looks like. The stuff that they're showing is very like early.
How long is the demo? It's only like a couple.
I think it's 4 stages. It's like 10, 15 minutes, probably, if you just kind of sat down and powered through it. Yeah. And it's like, there's no cohesion to them. They just like give you cross sections of what you want to see. But like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't really know, like, when you sent me this code, I thought I was thinking it was Shinobi. I forgot that they announced this game in particular. So I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, oh wait, no, when you were saying you were seeing Shinobi, and I was like, oh wait, that's right, these are two different games.
Yeah.
What a world we live in, where we get a brand new 2D side-scrolling Ninja Gaiden and a brand new side-scrolling 2D Shinobi. That's wild, man.
Same time.
I expected booting this up to just have my ass handed to me, because I am terrible at Ninja Gaiden. Always have been. Those birds can just go.
Those birds, man.
They can pound all of the sand. But no, I never felt like I was out of my element in this. It felt good. It felt smooth. I felt you kind of felt cool. Like, you felt ninja-like. You felt like you were doing something. Like, it was just a whole lot of like, my feet aren't on the ground that often, kind of thing. Because and you do the same Ninja Gaiden. Like, the most Ninja Gaiden thing in this is you doing like the wall climbing and hanging from the ceiling while attacking it and crawling and stuff. But and there's secret paths and hidden things and all that fun 16-bit stuff, because it's definitely leaning into 16-bit kind of stuff. So yeah, it's interesting. I'll be interested to see what like the full experience ends up being. If like the late game stuff is just like good luck, buddy.
Was it end of July? I think it's arriving.
Yeah, I think it's the 31st.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Well, I've been doing some previews. I spoke a little bit about Samurai
Showdown.
Samurai. I spoke a little bit about Shinobi.
More like Sam or I. Yeah.
Sam or I.
Yeah. No, that was bad.
No, don't. I'm gonna talk about some Capcom stuff that I saw and got hands-on time with at Summer Game Fest. Because now the embargo's up, I've already posted a couple of the pieces, and I'll have the third one, the Resident Evil one, today. Let me get those first two, and then I'll talk a little bit of Resident Evil. So, Onimusha, I kind of mentioned it in the Discord. I'm not an Onimusha guy, only because I'd never played an Onimusha game, right? Didn't know what to think about it. I just thought it was a samurai sword game in the past. But Way of the Sword, which is the latest game this year, it's been like 20 years since the last Onimusha. I think it was like 2006 almost. And when this comes out in 26 next year, it'll be 20 years. But it's this really cinematic one-on-one like sword showdown game. You take every enemy as if they were designed specifically for you to fight. This is like just a series. It feels like a series of one-on-one battles, even though you do face off against small groups now and again. It's a gorgeous game. It in my preview I talked a little bit about just some of the action stuff, and I think that's the most important part. So they show us this live play session where they're going through this village on their way to a temple that takes place in it's modern day would be Kyoto, but takes place during the Edo period. So it's like several hundred years in the past. But just you're getting to this temple, or Musashi Miyamoto is getting to the temple, and he's kind of based on this famous legendary samurai who was, according to the lore, he was very strict and very patient and wanted to become a master swordsman, a samurai, the right way, go through all the steps. So they translate that into this game in that you have the Oni gauntlet, right? You have this magical demonic gauntlet, which you can do a whole bunch of stuff with, but as a way to sort of gatekeep or to kind of put little blocks on what abilities you can get and when you can get them, they make it so that, he doesn't want to use them yet because he doesn't think he's ready to use them, which is an interesting way to go about that, but totally believable because of who this character, in history was. So, you get through there. You're basically you're facing off against humans and demons. The demons are called the Genma, and they're, they have the sort of this miasma thing that's taking over do my hand motion there. That's kind of slowly taking over different temples and different towns and stuff. And it's his job to eradicate that. So he can, as he defeats an enemy, he can kind of suck their soul out and gain experience, gain health, gain power, gain abilities, blah, blah, blah. And obviously pairing is a big part of this. Guarding, defending are a big part of this because you are sword fighting. I mean, these are, again, there are a lot of times, for the most part, they're one-on-one sword battles. So he faces off against a bunch of different enemies. You can, one of the moves is allows you to deflect stuff. And if you do it correctly, you can deflect an arrow back at like an archer. But you use all these different tools to face off against, and I forget the name of your sort of arch enemy, your arch rival, but who is a human, also has an Oni gauntlet, but is letting the gauntlet corrupt him. Like he knows his gauntlet has power, and he's like, just bring it. I want to have all the power in the world. I want to be all powerful at expense of me as my humanity. So you're kind of battling the way the story that they told us was you're kind of battling him throughout this game because he is trying to open more of the demonic, power world into ours. But at the same time, you're facing off against these pretty massive demons. So the demo had the samurai face off against his arch rival in one point and they're also, the animation is so freaking awesome and fluid. And it feels natural, like the attacks. Like he'll just kind of do a random knee if you're up close to an enemy. Like you'll be going through a combo, and he'll just kick up. He'll do a knee. He'll throw an elbow, and it's like that's what a person would do in that situation. And here, when you face off against your arch rival, like they were going back and forth, and the arch, again, I got to figure out his name, reaches out for Musashi and tries to grab him. This guy right here, but misses. Because Musashi was ready for all the power moves, the Oni gauntlet moves this guy was going to do, or his nemesis was going to do. So he reaches, he misses. Musashi grabs the arm and breaks his arm because he has that opening. And that's all part of like the attack moveset. Very cinematic, very awesome from that standpoint. And then you face off against this giant monster axe wielding dude after that. But Really impressive. I may be becoming an Onimusha guy. I thought it was.
Look, everything that you were just explaining about Onimusha is like, oh hell yeah, they're just making a new Onimusha
They're
game.
just making them.
Everything you described was just like, oh, that's just Onimusha, man.
Yep. Read the full review. Yeah,
it's hard to look back and realize that Onimusha was such a huge game for the PlayStation 2 when it came out. It was very much like built on the backbone of Resident Evil,
right?
Like, pre-rendered backgrounds and fixed camera angles to give it. That was the only way you could really get a cinematic view of anything back then. That's why those games. It's one of the main reasons why those games did it. Like nowadays, you with the way you can render, visuals and stuff, you can have you can free up camera control a little bit more. But like Onimusha was like their first like big seller for the PlayStation 2. Like it was like I think it might be the first game to sell over 1 million units for the PlayStation 2. Yeah. It was a huge franchise for like 3 years, and then it just disappeared. Like I think, like I looked it up, and you're right. 2006 is when the Onimusha whatever
2 or 3, whatever it's called.
Dawn of Dreams was 2006. That was the
so I'm totally looking forward to this one. I'm gonna be an Oni guy for sure.
Hey, listen,
you mentioned Resident Evil in that, and I do want to say I got to watch a Resident Evil play session. Now, funny enough, they showed us a pre-recorded Resident Evil thing on the wall around us. A very, very limited amount of press could actually get their hands on the demo. It's going to be on at Gamescom. So, but I'll kind of explain, and I'm just going to let this video play in the background. This is the trailer. What they showed us was right after Grace sort of awakens, she's sort of hanging upside down on this medical chair, this gurney, and all sweaty, like they show at the end of this video. It sort of takes place after this, and she has to make her way out. So she's like grabbing certain things, kind of cutting, moving around, and then she finally gets loose. And because she has no real combat experience, and again, I don't know if there's going to be other characters. That's one of the rumors that there's going to be other playable characters. At least what they showed us of her, she's not a combat person. She doesn't know really how to fight. She is trying to survive and escape this like strange mansion or this facility that she's dumped in. So it is a complete return to survival horror for Resident Evil. And so it kind of goes up and down. Resident Evil does over the different iterations. Some are more action, some are more survival horror, some are just pure action, some are a mix of both. This demo leaned very heavily into survival horror. She gets up, she's walking through this house. There's just long hallways, dark hallways. You'll get like a flash of like lightning or thunder. You'll get really cool lighting effects as the light is coming through like slots in the blinds. You'll get the red light from other rooms kind of peeping in. And then as she's walking through this facility, trying to figure out where she is and what's going on, doors are locked. And she comes up to a door, very Resident Evil-ish door, by the way, in that you do not have the key. And it really has sort of that old Resident Evil viewpoint of the doorknob. Pretty funny. But she finds a sort of exit point. That's sort of this gate. But the gate doesn't have enough power. There's a fuse missing on one of the gates, kind of fuse boxes. So you automatically think, okay, she's got to find this fuse box. So she's looking, or the fuse, she's looking around for an extra fuse. She's going into different rooms. There's a medical room here. There's a bedroom over there. There's a bathroom. And she makes it and she's like turning lights on if she can along the way until eventually the lights go out. She does manage to find a lighter, which is another staple of the series. Finds a lighter, flips it on, and now is able to start looking around different areas. She gets to this storage room, and this part was amazing. Gets to the storage room, and as she's like looking, she sees like what looks like a dead body on the ground. She checks the body, and she's like, yeah, this body is dead. And as she's like examining this body, as the person in first, is examining this body, this giant hand comes out of nowhere, grabs the body, and just like people were hooting and hollering in this little demo room because everyone's like, oh, it was a cinematic jump scare instead of just a monster jumping out of your way, right? So his hand grabs it, pulls up the body, and this ginormous mouth just opens and crunches the head off this body. And everybody at that point is like, oh, fuck, she's fucked. We're fucked.
Yeah.
So Grace starts running, trying to get away. This big lumbering giant beast, there's always got to be a big monster, is like slowly lumbering towards her and can't open the door here, opens the door there, finally gets to a bedroom and like gets far enough away where she can shut the door behind her and like runs off into the corner and just waits to hear this beast go by the door. And that's her cue to know it's like, okay, I'm a little more safe. I can get back out there and try to, find the key and do this. It's a very Capcom thing. Yeah.
I don't think Capcom wants the Death Stranding 2 player playing as
right. Yeah, she ends up going back to the supply room. She finds a toolbox, grabs steps on a cart, grabs like a crowbar or something, or a screwdriver. Yeah, finds a screwdriver, goes back to another room that had a fuse box available, has a fuse available, opens the door of the fuse box, takes the fuse out, heads over to the gate. And as she's putting the fuse in the gate, here comes that beast coming around the corner. So, it's cool. It's like stuff is breaking, things are like popping behind her as she's running. It's just a lot of like animation, like horror animation. The plaster on the walls is chipping as she's. It was just so cool. And then at the very end, demo, like, we have one more thing, and then they pause it, they go to the title screen, and then they go back in, and it's like goes into third person mode. And everybody freaking lost it as Resident Evil in third person mode. Everybody lost it in the freaking in the theater, because that really does change how you approach a game going in the third person. It makes it more of an action style.
So is
experience.
The whole game is going to be either playable?
Yes.
Yep. So really cool demo. I was, again, it was hands off. We could just preview it, but definitely something that I always, same thing with like other games. I circle back to Resident Evil every few times, and this looks sick. Like, it was the Resident Evil game that I was really hoping that the last couple were going to be. I mean, Resident Evil 7 had a little bit of that horror, but then you also had just the weird puzzles like all over the place. Didn't have any puzzles in this except finding the fuse and unscrewing it.
I can assure you that this game is going to have those weird puzzles in it. There is no doubt in my mind that this game is going to have Resident Evil.
Well, it almost sounds like, from the way that you described it, that at least in that demo, it's like, instead of like maybe like fully involved puzzles of like, oh, go find these 13 pieces, and like put it in here. It's almost like, okay, you've got to go get this lighter and this switch, and oh my god, this thing's behind you, so you gotta do it quickly. So it's like, it's less of like, oh, these intricate, like, I've got to use my mind for these puzzles, because it's like, oh no, like, I've got to use half my brain to worry about the thing chasing me, and half my mind to work, where's the tools.
There was the level of, like, the tension was awesome. Like, it was palpable. You could taste the tension in the room, and I always love that level of, it's just, the room felt like musky, it was just really cool. Very, very cool.
That's like, Resident Evil 7, like, all of the promos for Resident Evil 7 was just like the opening 2 hours of that game at best. Like you get out of that house pretty quickly. And after that, the game sort of turns into your bog standard Resident Evil, like, still people are chasing you, you're still having to hide stuff, you're still solving weird puzzles while an old lady stalks you.
But you got a gun now. So the game that I did get a chance to get my hands on, by the way, I had no idea why Death Stranding 2 popped up in that, whatever.
It was just the next trailer. So,
I don't know why that would be on there. I did get a chance to play the final Capcom game I played, Pragmata, which we talked about this in the past.
Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
But Pragmata was, it is Dead Space by way of Mega Man, by way of Vanquish. all of those together. Because
does it have a slide?
I don't know if it has a slide.
Then it's not by way of vanquish. How dare you?
But so Pragmata takes place. You're on a space shuttle or on a space station, Delphi Corporation, right? And you have a little girl that you come across, and she hops on your shoulder because you're both trying to get out. You have no idea who she is. She's ends up being, I think they said she's an android, because she can hack things, and it becomes really important because as you're running around and you're taking on enemies, there's a girl, I think Diana. As you're taking on enemies, they have this incredibly strong like defensive system where your bullets will, your whatever you fire, your weapon will not give out much damage to them. But she can hack enemies. So she sits on your shoulder, and when you hit the left, I think it's the left trigger button, which is typically like an aim button, you'll be able to aim, but you'll also bring up a screen on the side or a table on the side that's sort of this like hacking table, and you have to I don't know if they show it in this. You kind of see it in the trailer there a little bit, but you have to navigate using the face buttons on the right, these little nodes on the hacking table, and if you get to the goal, that will disable the defense system of the enemy, and you can start shooting with the the left triggers and all that kind of stuff. So or with the trigger button. So yeah, you're kind of doing a couple things at once, but it felt so freaking natural. I could not believe my old hands and my old man brain was able to hack and move and shoot all at the same time. Granted, the enemies are a little bit on the slower side, I think on purpose, to give you that capability to hack them. Like they don't come out running and gunning. But yeah, so the demo we played, you could do a little bit of a jetpack boost. You could unlock new abilities. They had a couple abilities for us to try, especially with the hacking. The hacking is kind of cool because you can keep adding to the hacking table. So it's not just getting to the node. You might now have a couple abilities where if you touch off this ability, it'll stun the enemy. If you touch off this other one, you'll get like a fire attack or an ice attack or whatever, So depending on how you navigate that table, I think is a really cool concept. But yeah, they had us opening these 5 gates, these gate points, these lock points, open a gate to get out. And as soon as you open up you find these 5 little gate unlocks. You hop on this giant elevator, it takes you down. You're taking on enemies, or not an elevator, it's a room, whatever. Taking on enemies, and then you clear out that room and you step out, and then this giant enemy like walker thing comes down. The PR person came over, was like, "That's it, you can't play anymore. You're not allowed to. You're done. This is as far as we let you go." But it was very much a time demo, and that was meant to be the little teaser type of thing. But man, it played so good. I didn't know what this game was gonna be, but boy, did it feel like, what did I say? I think in the article, it felt like 2010 action adventure games. You got a little bit of Dead Space, you got a little bit of Vanquish, you got a little bit of BioShock. You can see some of the double jump there. You got Dark Sector, whatever. There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, Dark Sector
felt really cool. And there she is. She's just like puts her hand out and she can hack the enemies and stuff. So 2026.
I gotta say,
this is going to be such a good comfort food. I don't know. Again, they haven't given us any other detail except for a few enemies and stuff. Doesn't feel like Game of the Year material, but it does feel like, man, this is gonna be a perfect. Like, it could be a 7 out of 10. This feels like the game where it's like, I just feels this is comfort food, man. I can always play Pragmata because I know exactly what I'm getting out of it. So, yeah.
I gotta say, just a small thing, but it's a very big thing. It shows sort of like detail. Her hair is so good because it looks like actual like long hair that like from somebody who just hasn't had access to. It's just naturally long. There's no brushing. There's no trimming. It's like, and it moves really
off like new hair technology or whatever. I'd believe it.
Yeah, I'm looking at Sam, and Sam. It looks like Sam's hair. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
that not
Yeah, but,
disheveled, but just that realistic.
like the way it blows around when there's like energy being blasted on
Yeah.
top of just it, the aesthetic look of it, how like
Yep.
like I said, it looks like
Yeah.
a I'm trying to think of like a caveman kind of thing. Like they don't have access to a razor. That's just
True.
her hair is that long. It's just
Yeah.
it's not kempt, it's not combed, it's not
Smart.
trimmed, it's not
It's
anything. It
smart.
just and
And
it
she's
looks like it.
supposedly an android, but maybe she's like half human. I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know
it's
what the deal is.
unclear. It's unclear.
Unclear.
It's like
What
Yeah.
is
it's just
what is Zach's theory right now that this is a Mega Man?
This
game?
is like a Mega Man game, yeah.
Yeah.
Because she has an arm blaster. It's like, well, it's more like
Yeah.
telekinetic, yeah.
You're Hugh is Dr. Light. She
Yeah.
is Roll. The Delphi Corporation is actually Wiley Industries.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the last thing that I'll talk about today that I know I can talk about, there's embargoes going up over the next like 2 weeks, so keep them back to the website. But this embargo went up just this past Monday, and this is a game that JJ was really excited about me checking out, and that is Directive 8020.
Yeah. This is a JJ jam.
Supermassive games, baby. You guys heard of Supermassive games, but this feels like a little bit of Mass Effect plus a little bit of Dead Space, but definitely on the adventure game side of things, right?
It's still super massive.
It's still Supermassive. It's the Dark Pictures anthology, right? But it's just set in space. Man, I enjoyed this too. I haven't really played too many Supermassive games, and so getting my hands on this was really my first one, and it was just so cool. It was just a great idea. You start off like the demo that we played had a couple folks sitting at a table, and it's a scientist, and her father had sort of passed away, and her father's friend was there to kind of bring up memories, and so he's asking some questions, and your job is to answer these questions in whatever way you want. You may have one or two different outcomes and that kind of stuff. Your dad was hard on you, and then the answer could be like, well, he meant well, or yeah, he definitely was hard on me, he was a jerk, type of thing. Those type of things. And then you're done, you kind of reminisce a little bit with this person, and it cuts to like 4 years or 5 years later, and now you're working on the shuttle together. And things have been happening in the space station. Things have been happening in the space station, and where it appears that there's like clones or copies of people from, I don't know if it's alien fungus. It's like the space last of space. But this alien fungus can clone people, but it's also very terrifying. Obviously, you can see some of the stuff there, and so you play two people in this other one of them being the person that you see here. And in the demo, you're running around and you're kind of hiding from this big lumbering monster that's in the same room as you, and you can kind of wait for them to walk by and run around them. I found myself doing things a little bit differently, not differently, but apparently I approached this section different than anybody else who had played the demo that weekend approached it, right? In that a lot of folks will run around, like you have to escape from these creatures and run around them. And most folks will wait till they kind of move into a whole other section and then run around and then do like a kind of loop back. I waited until he was essentially right in front of me, and then I ran behind him, from behind him, because I figured by the time he turned around and knew it was me, I would have gained, some precious seconds to get to like a ladder or whatever. So it was a cool from the standpoint that you can approach this from a bunch of different ways. And then you get to, once you escape, you have this decision. I think this demo might actually be out now on Steam, so give it a try if it is. But you get a decision. It's like, okay, you have a fellow astronaut or a fellow coworker here, and you can't tell if they're the actual person or if they're fake, if they're a clone, because there's a thing registering that there's a clone in the room or something. And so you can say, I will kind of see the scene there of the guy holding the gun, looking like he's deciding. You can say, yes, I'm going to kill him, or no, I'm going to let him survive. And
you're gonna start doing the Thing blood test out there. You're gonna
yeah, it kind of is, yeah, because you go through. Apparently, you'll be going through different rooms, and it'll be scanning to make sure. But the interesting part was I didn't believe that he was who he was, so I shot him. I'm like, I'm going to shoot him. I know it's a monster because he was acting a little bit on the weird side. Well, I didn't. It was a guy. I shot a guy. He was not a clone. So it's like, I'm like, oh crap. So, but that changes, just like in these games, that can change a lot in the story. So what their big hook right now with this is like a rewind feature, in that they realize people want to see everything in this game. Like they want to see every one of their choices. Something that happens really early on will affect, a battle later on in the story. That's how it ties into stuff, right? So they decided in this to just let you go back, take a look, and like literally rewind to like scenes. This big giant spider chart that you're presented with, you can rewind to specific scenes and play those out and try them out differently and see what your outcome would have been that time. Because there are completionists, and if you want to get everything in a Dark Pictures game, you have to replay those games like 15, 20 times sometimes. So this was added in for the specific reason of letting you go back and actually kind of, do the specific things that you want to do story-wise, and not miss them. Because the other aspect is there's a lot of great voice acting done. And if you're just blasting through this game, you're only seeing like 30%, 15% of the actual voice acting that's been done. So I think it's a cool idea to do this rewind feature. Directive A20 looks great. It's out in just a couple months. So
there is not a Steam demo.
Okay, there isn't. Okay,
I just looked. There doesn't seem to be.
Okay. Yeah, it definitely looks like they're treating this one, like, despite slapping the Dark Pictures tagline on it, it definitely feels like they're treating this one differently from the other Dark Pictures games. I feel like they've only added it to that, so it's like you have to expect some of the super massive stuff in this game.
For sure. But yeah, it's good. Then we saw a bunch of other stuff. Like I said, I will make sure that I post about these over the next few days. So stay tuned. Sam, is there anything else? Any other game you want to talk about?
Not really.
You mentioned Mario Kart a little. You mentioned Roadcraft.
We're going to be playing a bunch of Mario Kart. So
we're going to play Mario.
Sour on Mario Kart, depending on how well I do tomorrow.
People that are coming to Pool Quest will know for sure.
But yeah, I mean, that's other than a couple of like other just trying some stuff out on Switch too. That's pretty much all I've been
Excellent. Well, I think that's it. I'm gonna wrap up. That was a good thumbs up, a good show. Thank you to JJ for dialing in.
Oh yeah, live via satellite.
Thank you to Sam, who's to my right and not on your screen at all. He's no longer part. Oh, right, here he is. Here's Sam. He's salute. Sam's here, and thank you again for being awesome. Definitely appreciate it. Thank you to all our wonderful viewers, listeners, and friends and family who are a part of our SideQuesting friends and family. We love you. Rate, review, blah, 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 blah. Visit us, SideQuesting.com, SideQuesting TV, and YouTube and Twitch. Hop on the Patreon, because Google is now charging us even more just to have emails, because they think we want AI.
Yeah.
Literally the email, the note they sent us. Don't have to. Just throw it out there. But hop in the Discord. That more than anything else, hop in the Discord, because we love to chat with everybody in there and get some game nights going and just talk. Sometimes talking is good for mental health's sake. Always talk to someone. With that said, we'll see you in the next episode of The Side Quest. Bye-bye. Sam is actually waving. There you go. Sam's waving. Awesome. See you, everybody. I love the hat, Sam. This is badass.